Martin. You did an amazing, amazing job. I'm a civil attorney, a civil rights attorney, and I represent Anthony Jones and amongst a bunch of other kids that have been either brutalized, who've been arrested falsely, who've been detained, who've been hurt by the public security officers, safety officers here on Roosevelt Island. It's extremely unfortunate that the only outlet they have, the only accountability that these officers have, is for them to come to somebody like me. It's unfortunate, and it's a problem. Let me define the problems legally. What's going on here is that Roosevelt Island has a very peculiar situation that does not exist in any other part of the state. Roosevelt Island has has a security force here that has no accountability. There is no CCRB, there is no Internal Affairs Bureau, there is nobody policing the police, and that's a problem. So what you have are a bunch of security officers who, not saying all of them, but you have many of them who think they're wider out in the Wild West. And what they're trying to do is instill fear, intimidate, and they're trying to make people, especially the youth on Roosevelt Island, scared so that they don't have to do their real job, which is policing, doing real police work out on this island. Now, although these security officers have the same responsibilities, duties, and powers as an NYPD and other police forces throughout the state of New York, including the power to detain and arrest, they don't have anybody that's watching them and saying, well, maybe you're abusing people, maybe you're violating people's constitutional rights. When there is no accountability, you're going to have officers that are going to violate other people's rights and constitutional rights. Now, when we talk about constitutional rights, we're not talking about rights that are some abstract thought. We're talking about rights that were given to us by our founding fathers 250 years ago to protect us against our own government. They knew what they were doing. The fact that it doesn't exist on Roosevelt Island is absurd, is absolutely irresponsible and absurd. Now, I mentioned that I represent Anthony Jones. I represent a number of other folks that have had their constitutional rights violated on Roosevelt Island. Anthony Jones, a few weeks ago, was beaten within inches of his life, spent 7 days in a hospital as a result of a severe beating. And this beating took place after he was already handcuffed. He was kicked, he was punched, he was hospitalized and spent 5 days of the 7 days in the hospital where he almost died, handcuffed to a bed while a security officer from this island watched over him. He was released without any charges, nothing. Absurd, crazy. Now, these constitutional rights that were guaranteed to us by our forefathers should not be overlooked here in Roosevelt Island. There's no reason for it. The reason for it is because it's a peculiar hole in the law. Roosevelt Island, for some reason, has no accountability for these officers. There is nothing that they can do about these abuses, and that's a problem. There is a bill in the Assembly right now by your Assemblyman Kellner, and I urge all of you to push your elected officials to get this bill passed, because unless you do, unless that happens, these civil rights violations, these constitutional rights violations will continue. Your children, your friends, Your relatives will be beaten, they will be imprisoned, and their futures will be obstructed because of the way the police, the security officers are handling situations here on Roosevelt Island. Now, the other issue, of course, is the fact that we have a problem right now. What can we do right now, okay, about what's happening here in Roosevelt Island? First of all, I've heard calls for the removal of Guerra. I think that's a very, very good start. My investigation and my firm's investigation into what's going on out here leads to a conclusion that is a foregone conclusion. He must go. It's not even a question. Now, the state has known about these problems for years and have done nothing. My investigation, besides the fact that it represents so many people whose constitutional rights have been violated here on Roosevelt Island, my investigation shows that the incident that happened, the outrage that happened to Anthony and others are not isolated events. They are a history of abuse that's happened because of the peculiar situation that exists on Roosevelt Island. So what do we do for the interim? Well, number one, there needs to be a federal investigation. There needs to be the state has shown itself to be incapable of policing the police here in Roosevelt Island. There is no stopgaps. There is no Internal Affairs Bureau. There is no CCRB. There is nothing to stop. There is no accountability for these security officers. We're about to see shortly just an example of just how bad it can get. It's going to get worse. You get rid of Guerra, guess what? There'll be another Guerra 2 weeks from now. You need to have a federal investigation by the proper investigative arm of the federal government, which is the U.S. Attorney's Office. The next thing, of course, is pushing for the calendar bill. Now, I'm going to close because I know I'm taking a lot of time, and lawyers like to speak a lot, obviously, okay? What I will tell you is that any constitutional rights in violation perpetrated by any government official, whether it be a security officer, a police officer, or anybody else, is unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. Now, right now, there is nothing set in place to protect you against your own police officers. Craziness, ridiculous. What can you do? Well, document everything. Everything. Every time you feel that your rights have been violated, write it down, videotape it, get your iPhones out, get witnesses, document it. You do have civil remedies, and it's unfortunate, but that's really all you have right now, okay? You do have the district attorney now finally looking into the Anthony Jones situation. Finally. You know when we found out about that? Well, this situation, this beating, happened weeks ago, but on Friday we get a phone call from the DA's office. Okay, yeah, we're going to look into the Anthony Jones situation. Now in life, I've learned that there are no coincidences. The only reason the district attorney's office is looking into this incident is because they got word that there's going to be a big media event today, yesterday. And I know that because my office sent out the press releases yesterday. So let me go on to the next person, please, whoever that is. Monica Jones.